to Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Hello and welcome, friends. I'm Shauna Corden, and I'm glad to have you here on the Playbook for Performance podcast. Our mission is to make work fun again by building better leaders. This month's theme is all about a new dialogue. If you have a specific question on a new dialogue, email us and we can add it to our social media. Just drop a note to podcast@shaunacorden.com. Now, last week we talked about the origins of conflict. And today we're talking about putting ourselves in the ideal state to engage in a new dialogue. The ideal state is one where we're at our best. We're using our gifts and our talents, and we are surrounded by a community that brings out the best in us. So we know that high-performing teams have very strategically placed their players where they are doing their best work, using their talents, their gifts and strengths. They enjoy what they're doing, and they're doing good. This fosters psychological safety. Now, when teams have a high degree of psychological safety, it comes from sharing challenges. What are the difficulties? What's happening? How can they share that with their team members? And I suggest that the leader start first. I'm struggling with our supply chain issues. I'm struggling with hiring good people. I'm struggling in covering the shifts that we need to cover. I'm struggling with the increased expenses that we have for our raw materials and having the rest of the team follow suit. I'm struggling with undependable childcare. I'm struggling with whether I should get my degree or not, and so on and so on. When we share these challenges, we want our team members to react with empathy and compassion. And there's a lot of research about empathy and compassion. As a coach, I'm a big fan of compassion because one of us needs to stand outside of the hole and be able to help the person in the hole get out. Empathy sort of suggests that we crawl into the hole with them. And this can look like a lot of different things in the workplace, but the way that Gallup defines this is, do I have a best friend at work? So when we look at the Gallup Strengths Finder, when we look at the Q12, one of the things that we're really analyzing is, do I feel like I belong? And that is if we share a challenge that our colleagues will respond with compassion. Something like, that sounds hard. How can I help? I do recommend a really good YouTube video that's out there with Brene Brown that talks about who deserves to hear your story. We definitely do not want to share challenges with people who we don't trust. We don't want to share them with people who will not treat it with respect. And we need those people who will respond in that positive way, who will say, that sounds hard, and not try to fix us, and not try to blame us for the challenges that we're experiencing. The next step in this cycle is when we have enough confidence because we do feel safe at work and we are able to share challenges and they are met with compassion, is authentic expression. We are able to give opinions. Our opinions count. We can hear constructive criticism without feeling threatened. And we trust that the person who is delivering the message has the best intentions. We're building a better product. We're upping the game in our workplace. And we really want the best for one another. And the opposite of this authentic expression is censoring ourselves, not sharing how we really feel, hedging our bets, kind of observing from the sidelines and not participating to the full extent that would really help both ourselves in terms of that expression, but also the diversity of ideas that feed the workplace. And so how can we make it safe to express our feelings without feeling like we need to censor them or that we will be attacked for sharing them? The next step in this ideal state space is diversity. And I am all for diversity when it comes to incorporating all kinds of races, backgrounds, challenges, etc. But there's a point to that. That point is not to look like a color wheel. The point is that those different backgrounds and approaches bring a diverse set of ideas on how to solve problems in the workplace. So when we have a diverse workforce, we're talking about a plethora of ideas. We're not talking about yes men. We're looking at variations in how we approach tasks. We look at variations with challenge. We look at variations with growth and healthy debate for the best product. We're not shutting people down. And that's the richness of diversity. And that's why it's so healthy and desired. The next step in this space is who your crowd is. Tim Ferriss talks about the story where somebody left a voicemail message on an answering machine. That tells you how long ago it was. That said, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it made him recognize maybe he wasn't going in the right direction. So he made some changes in his life. But think about our work time. We spend 40 plus hours at work with our colleagues. These are people that we are spending a ton of time with. Are they good? Are they lifting the tide, raising the tide to lift all boats? Are they sharing tips and tricks to improve the productivity of the workplace? Are you better for being around them? Does your heart feel full? Do you feel like you're being supported, that someone has your back, that it's a good place for you to contribute your time and talents? Is there a high standard? Do you gain from being part of this experience or this community? All of these things come back to now I'm with the right group of people and I can bring my best to create a high-performing workplace. So it's a very interesting cycle. And all of these things are necessary for us to have that ideal dialogue. We need to feel like we're doing good. We need to feel safe. We want to be able to share. We want to be met with compassion. We want to be our most authentic selves. We want a diversity of ideas and challenges and experiences. And then to sum it all up, that makes us do even better work. So it's a fascinating cycle. I think this ideal state is so important. And I think that's the ideal state that gives us this platform to have a new dialogue that refrains from blaming, from shaming, from attacking, to separating, to creating distance from others when they don't see things the same way that we do. And we can remain friends and big fans of people. I remember reading a story about Scalia right after he died and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and how even though they were opposites when it came to politics, they were deep friends and they shared a love of opera and some other passions, and their families had dinner together regularly. And that's what life should be like. So if your team needs help to discover their values, how to be in that ideal state, how to have differences, but still be warm friends, and you want to become aware of your own personal preferences and tendencies when it comes to conflict, I offer productive conflict disc workshops with follow-on coaching. You can contact me at shauna@shaunacorden.com. So the tool of the week this week is authentic expression. They say be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. What do you need to express how you truly feel? Now, remember, this is not an excuse for rudeness. In fact, it takes a bit of finesse, but it's where we lead from best. So Here's your field work, because coaching without action isn't coaching, it's just entertainment. Consider the amount of censorship that you apply to yourself. And I'm not talking about refraining from cursing or saying please and thank you when you don't feel like it. But when you have a 10 feeling on a topic, do you feel safe expressing it? What would it take to express that feeling? How would you need to set the stage and make the requests that you really want to make? Because all these requests are really anchored on your complaints. Turn your complaints into polite requests and express why it's important, tailored to your audience. Plan the exchange. Be sure to select the right time, setting, and audience. And generally, I would say not at the end of the day when your audience is tired or near a deadline when they're already under pressure and distracted. Let me know how it goes. Each week in the podcast, I like to highlight a leader doing it well in the news or from a listener, and one that had a wobble. And if you'd like to nominate your organization, send a note to podcast@shawnacorden.com. Our continuing real-life drama in Eastern Europe is highlighting strong leadership, making requests and building relationships, and our avatar for command and control is on full display as well, compelling followers versus inspiring them. I have been truly touched by the generosity of folks in Central Europe, Western Europe, meeting our refugees coming from the Ukraine. Seeing the videos on social media, people showing up at train stations with signs that, are stick figures of people saying 1 adult, 2 children, 1 room. It touches my heart. And I'm so impressed by humanity. It is so great. I'm getting choked up. I hope it continues. I hope it inspires others. It's really fantastic news, and I'm thrilled. So that's all for this week. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, give us a rating, tell your friends. If you'd like to hear more about a topic that would make your work fun by improving the leaders in your organization, please drop us a line at podcast@shawnacorden.com. Until next week, take very good care.
Thank you for listening to Playbook for Performance. To learn more about Shauna Corden, her consulting programs and tools, please visit her website at shawnacorden.com and follow us on social media at Shauna Corden.